Dan Illman, Mike Beer kicking off the pick six at Aqueduct on Wood Memorial Saturday with race number six, the grade three Bayshore. These are for 3-year-olds, 3-year-old sprinters going 7/8 of a mile. Let's take a peek at this field. $200,000 is the purse for the Bayshore. Number 5, Joey Freshwater, the tepid favorite on our colleague David Aragona's morning line. Stakes placed in the Jimmy Winkfield 2 starts back. Just missed last time out against older allowance horses. He's solid. He doesn't have a strong edge over this field. Might make you want to shop for a little bit of value.
Yeah, maybe. His last race certainly, though, is the fastest race any of these horses has ever run. So I guess if he could, show up here and repeat the 92 he earned last time, he could certainly be tough. He's got to go 7 here, Dan. I don't think that's going to be a huge problem. Might not be worth too short of a price, but his last race was fine.
We'll throw up the Timeform US pace projector for this event. Not a lot of speed, according to Timeform US. They believe this race will favor front runners, and a horse that has shown some speed is the number 7, Prove Right, who's kept some good company in his career and scored last time out at Laurel in facile fashion. I think he's going to go. I think Jose Ortiz has got to be aggressive with the 2 Gilmore and get him into good position.
Yeah, I think that's true, Dan. I mean, Gilmore is a horse who is turning back in distance for this race. So we'll see if that has dulled his speed at all. But he is exiting a race over that all-weather surface at Turfway Park that was run at a really fast pace.
The number 1's one of the bigger prices in this field. That's Arrebato, who was a runaway winner, albeit against maiden claimers 2 starts back going a 1-turn mile. In his first start against winners, he caught a wet track. Maybe that was an excuse. The 6th place horse came back to win for $50,000 with a 66 buyer. He has some upside potential, but he's taking a giant leap up in class.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he did run well when he broke his maiden 2 back. He got a great trip in that race, but he also won easily. It didn't come back very fast. He was really no match for some weaker horses last time. It feels like a pretty tall order for him here.
We generally like horses cutting back in distance to this 7/8 of a mile trip, and that's what we'll get from the number 2 Gilmore, who last raced on the synthetic surface at Turfway Park. Now, he sort of made the first move into the teeth of a very hot pace that day, so I'm not going to hold it against him for tiring. He's run well on dirt in the past. It's just whether this distance is a little sharp for him or not.
Yeah, we'll find out, I guess. I mean, I didn't really feel like the 7 furlongs had to work against him again. I actually kind of like him cutting back in distance for this. You mentioned he actually probably ran a little bit better than it looks last time. I mean, they ran him twice on dirt last year in California. He earned figures in those races that already make him tough in here. And he certainly should be eligible to improve. And he does. It feels like he's got enough tactical speed to fall into a trip.
Goes out for excellent connections. Brendan Walsh, of course, trains. Jose Ortiz, as I mentioned, rides. Victory Way was a promising debut winner for the great Bill Mott over Muddy Going, but he did it going a demanding debut distance, this 7/8 of a mile distance, back on March the 4th. Victory Way sat just off the lead after breaking from the rail, a post that can be a little bit intimidating for inexperienced horses, and you can see he's still learning once he makes the lead, but once he changed leads right there, he finished it off quickly.
Yeah, he did just about everything right in here, Dan. He was pretty professional early in this race, just sort of sitting in behind the leaders, and he didn't really seem phased by that. They took him out to the clear on the turn. He won, pretty convincingly at the end. The figure is solid. I realized it was over a wet track, but I mean, I don't know if he's necessarily the kind of horse you have to feel like that moved him up. We'll see what he does here. He's a very short price. That, I didn't love that about him, but he ran well first time out. He's got a lot of pedigree backing him up.
In from Parks is the number 4 Daydreaming Boy. Now, he finished well behind Joey Freshwater in the Jimmy Winkfield the last time he raced in New York. It was a race where he sort of got banged around at the start. I wish he ran a little bit better. They returned him to his home base at Parks against first-level allowance horses, and he did some good things. You see him in behind horses here. There's no way, nowhere for Dexter Haddock to go. He's got to alter course sharply to the forepath, but once he gets straightened away, he proves his superiority at odds-on and earned a respectable 80 buyer.
Yeah, he did step forward in this race off of a little bit of a trip. I mean, he got clear with plenty of time, and he's going to wind up winning easily at a very short price. This was a step in the right direction for him, though, Dan. His form prior to the Winkfield, I thought was good. I wasn't totally sold on him, but I thought his form was good. Wanted to see what he would do in that Winkfield to sort of, decide how I really felt about him. He was bad that day. He did have trouble at the start, but he didn't really do a lot of running. I'm still not convinced that he's that good, but I can't argue too hard with him against this field.
Both of Joey Freshwater, the number five's lifetime victories, have come on wet tracks, but he sure ran well on fast going last time out against open first level allowance horses. A couple of older runners in here as well. And Joey Freshwater, we see him off the pace, a little farther off the pace, Mike, than usual. Comes with his good run. He's a consistent horse. He's just going to miss by a neck. And as you mentioned early on, he got a very fast figure, a 92.
Yeah, he hangs pretty badly in this race. I mean, this looks like a race he's certainly going to win when this field came down to about mid-stretch. And to me, he just hangs at the end of this race. I thought that was pretty disappointing. The horse that wound up winning the race was the longest shot on the board, and he just didn't push by that horse at the end. His overall form is fine, Dan. I know we got the fast figure last time. To me, that's a race that he should have won. It's also a race where he had Lasix on for the first time, and now he's got a race without it as they move him into a stakes race here. I'm not going to be surprised when he's competitive in here. I won't even be surprised if he wins, but I'm not betting him as the favorite.
Chet Brown showing some confidence in the 6 expected value, returning him off a 6-month layoff in a graded stakes race. First off, the maiden win. The maiden win came at the Belmont at Aqueduct meeting back in September, going a 1-turn mile. He fell far behind in the early portion of this race. He didn't break very well, but to his benefit, they were hitting up front, and he's able to grind them down late.
Yeah, this pace is going to fall apart here for him at the end here, Dan. The horse that's on the lead, you can see he went pretty fast up front. He's exhausted right now. And here come the closers. Expected value. The horse is going to be runner up to him, is splitting towards the inside. And they're going to be a long late to take over. I think this race in some ways fell into his lap, but he still ran pretty well that day. I also felt like his debut was okay. That was a really fast race at Saratoga. He ran fine that day, even though he was beaten over 10 lengths.
And the third place finisher from his last race came right back to graduate against special weights at Churchill Downs with a 79 buyer. Prove Right's the 7, and he could be the speed of this race under a very good young rider, Jaron Barbosa. Now, like Joey Freshwater, Prove Right added Lasix for the first time in his most recent start. He showed high speed in this allowance race at Laurel. He stayed well off of the rail. He wins very easily. I mean, he dominated this group. This was not a great group of horses he beat, but he ran fast, an 89. He looked good doing it, and he might have a pace edge for a very underrated, capable trainer.
Yeah, agreed. This is a good performance. We'll see if he's going to be able to run as well again as we've already sort of talked about a little bit. He's got to do it without Lasix now. So I guess the question you have to ask yourself is, was the Lasix what moved him up last time? Because it's a way faster race than anything that he had ever run before from 13 starts. He is a horse, however, Dan, they've run him in some crazy spots. I mean, it's hard to say that, going into that race with, 13 starts and 3 wins, that seems like not a great record, but man, they ran him in some tough races.
And he was graded stakes placed earlier in his career, so he has acquitted himself okay in some of those tough spots. Top pick time for the kickoff leg of the pick 6 on Wood Memorial Saturday. Mike, you're going with Gilmore, lots to like, switching back to his preferred surface, cutting back in distance, and tactical enough where it's not like the speeds are going to run away from him.
That's what I thought, Dan. I also in this race, I just didn't really like the 2 morning line favorites. I won't be surprised if, either the 3 or Joey Freshwater, if they're, right there at the end. I just didn't want to bet them at short prices. I was sort of torn between the 2 and the 6. I went with the 2.
My theory is the same as yours. I was shopping for a price, and maybe Daydreaming Boy was exposed 2 starts back by his sort of poor performance in the Jimmy Wingfield. He did better last time out. I want to give him one more chance in this race if he can repeat that last figure or maybe move up just a bit. 2634 for Mike, 4726 for me in the Bayshore at the Big A on Saturday. Best of luck.